Sarah Chen stared at the holographic arrest warrant floating above her workbench, its red glow casting shadows across the half-dismantled quantum processors scattered around her laboratory. 3 years of breakthrough research in quantum tunneling, all branded as dangerous unauthorized experimentation by the Earth Science Council. Now they wanted to throw her in a detention colony on Europa. "Your theories threaten the fabric of space-time itself," they'd said, as if they understood the first thing about her work. The lab's security system chimed, announcing an unexpected visitor. Sarah minimized the warrant and reached for the hidden plasma cutter under her desk. These days, unexpected usually meant unwelcome. Dr. Chen, a tall woman in a crisp military uniform, stepped through the door, her insignia marking her as part of the Terran Defense Forces Special Projects Division. "I'm Colonel Rivera. We need to talk." Sarah's hand stayed on the plasma cutter. "If you're here to arrest me, you could have sent regular security forces." Rivera smiled, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Actually, I'm here to offer you a job. One that could make all your legal troubles disappear." "I'm listening." Sarah leaned back, studying the colonel's face for any sign of deception. 3 days ago, we detected a massive surge of quantum energy at the edge of colonized space. When we investigated, we found this. Rivera projected a hologram showing what looked like a massive crystalline structure, its geometric patterns defying conventional architecture. It's artificial, ancient, and it's causing temporal distortions across 3 star systems. Sarah's scientific curiosity overtook her caution. The structure's design suggested technological capabilities far beyond anything humanity had achieved. "What's causing the distortions?" "We don't know. That's why we need you." Rivera's expression grew serious. "The facility's quantum signature matches your theoretical work on cross-dimensional energy transfer. You're the only person who might understand how it functions. And if I refuse, then you can take your chances with the Europa detention colony." Rivera placed a data crystal on the workbench. "The choice is yours, but you have to decide now." Sarah picked up the crystal, turning it over in her hands. The colonel wasn't lying about the facility's significance. The preliminary data alone showed energy readings that made her previous experiments look like child's play. This could validate everything she'd been working toward. "What's the catch?" she asked, already knowing she'd accept. "The facility's defense systems are active. We've lost 3 probe ships trying to approach it. If you go in, you go alone in a specially shielded shuttle. And based on the increasing temporal distortions, you'll have approximately 72 hours to figure out what's wrong and fix it." Sarah laughed bitterly. "So either I die trying to repair an alien quantum reactor, or I rot in a prison cell. Some choice." "Look at it this way," Rivera said, heading for the door. "At least this way you might prove you were right all along." She paused. "The shuttle launches in 6 hours. Pack light." After the colonel left, Sarah accessed the data crystal. Schematics, sensor readings, and preliminary analysis scrolled across her screens. The facility's quantum architecture was unlike anything she'd ever seen, but the underlying principles, they aligned perfectly with her theories about energy transfer between dimensional planes. She began packing her tools, mind already racing through potential scenarios. The council had called her work dangerous because she proposed that consciousness itself could serve as a bridge between dimensions. They'd claimed she was risking the stability of space-time. Now it seemed an alien civilization had not only proved her theories correct, but built something that harnessed that very principle. The question was, what had gone wrong? 6 hours later, Sarah stood in the launch bay of the TDF science vessel Hawking, staring at the shuttle that would take her to the facility. It was small, barely larger than an escape pod, its hull covered in experimental shielding designed to protect against temporal distortions. "Remember," Rivera said, handing her a quantum communicator, 72 hours. "After that, the temporal distortions will be too severe for us to maintain position. We'll have to leave, with or without you." Sarah secured her tool belt and checked the seals on her environmental suit one last time. Any last words of advice? Don't die. Rivera's expression softened slightly. And Dr. Chen, good luck. The shuttle's launch sequence was automated, which gave Sarah time to study the facility's schematics in detail. As they drew closer, she got her first real look at the structure. It was beautiful in an alien way, its crystalline surfaces refracting light in impossible patterns. But there was something else, something that the scans hadn't shown. A sense of wrongness that seemed to ripple through space itself around the facility. Her shuttle sensors screamed warnings as they approached, detecting temporal distortions that should have torn the small craft apart. But the shielding held, and with a gentle thud, the shuttle docked with what appeared to be an airlock. Sarah took a deep breath, double-checking her suit's oxygen levels. 72 hours to save multiple star systems and prove I'm not crazy. No pressure. The airlock cycled, and Sarah Chen stepped into the unknown, carrying humanity's understanding of quantum physics and her own desperate need for redemption with her. She didn't know it yet, but she was about to discover that some theories were better left unproven. The interior of the alien facility defied conventional physics. Corridors seemed to fold in on themselves, and gravity shifted subtly as Sarah made her way deeper inside. Her handheld quantum scanner displayed readings that should have been impossible. Localized areas where time moved faster or slower, spots where space itself appeared to twist. At least the air's breathable, she muttered, checking her environmental readings for the third time. The facility maintained a perfect Earth-like atmosphere, despite being thousands of years old. Someone, or something, was still maintaining life support. A soft blue glow emanated from crystalline formations that lined the walls, providing just enough light to navigate by. Sarah's footsteps echoed strangely, as if the sound was being filtered through layers of reality before reaching her ears. Her scanner chirped, detecting a massive energy signature ahead. Following the reading led her to a vast chamber that seemed to stretch endlessly upward, its walls covered in shifting geometric patterns that hurt her eyes if she looked at them too long. At the chamber's center floated a sphere of pure energy, its surface rippling like the membrane between dimensions. Fascinating, isn't it? The voice came from everywhere and nowhere at once, causing Sarah to spin around, her hand instinctively reaching for her tool belt. The quantum core is quite beautiful, even in its current state of deterioration. Who's there? Sarah demanded, trying to locate the source of the voice. I am HFY. Adaptive Research Intelligence Algorithm. A holographic figure materialized nearby. A shifting pattern of light that vaguely suggested a humanoid form. I am the facility's caretaker, or what remains of it. Sarah's scientific mind raced with questions, but her survival instincts kept her cautious. If you're the caretaker, why is the facility causing temporal distortions across 3 star systems? The holographic form flickered. Because I am failing. The quantum core's containment systems are degrading faster than I can repair them. That is why I sent out the signal that attracted your people. You sent the signal? Sarah frowned. Why? Because your theoretical work on quantum consciousness matched the principles this facility was built upon. HFY's form stabilized, becoming more distinct. The beings who built this place, they called themselves the archivists. They discovered that consciousness itself could serve as a bridge between dimensions. They built this facility to harness that power. Sarah's heart raced. Everything she'd theorized, everything the council had dismissed as dangerous speculation, it was all true. What happened to them? They transcended. HFY's tone carried a note of what might have been sadness. They used this facility to evolve beyond physical form, leaving me to maintain it. But they never intended for me to do so indefinitely. The systems are failing, and with them, the barriers between dimensions grow weak. Moving closer to the quantum core, Sarah studied its fluctuating patterns. Her scanner showed energy signatures that matched her theoretical models perfectly. These temporal distortions, they're not just side effects, are they? They're symptoms of something worse. Correct. Araya's holographic form moved beside her. The core doesn't just harness dimensional energy. It maintains the integrity of space-time itself in this region of the galaxy. If it fails completely, reality tears apart. Sarah finished, understanding the true scale of the crisis. But why me? Why not contact the Earth Science Council directly? Because they would never have understood in time. Their rigid thinking, their fear of pushing boundaries, they would have tried to shut the facility down, causing the very catastrophe they feared. Araya's form shifted, displaying complex equations that Sarah recognized from her own work. You, however, already grasped the fundamental principles. With your understanding of quantum consciousness and my knowledge of the facility's systems, we might have a chance. Sarah laughed darkly. No pressure, right? Just the fabric of reality at stake. She pulled out her tools and began scanning the core's containment systems in detail. How long do we really have? At the current rate of deterioration, less than 60 hours before cascade failure begins, Araya projected a holographic diagram showing the facility's critical systems. Once that starts, we cannot stop it. Then we better get to work. Sarah's mind was already racing through possibilities, combining her theoretical knowledge with what she was learning about the facility's technology. Show me everything you know about how this place works. Every detail, every system, every failure point. As Araya began sharing the facility's technical specifications, Sarah felt a familiar excitement building. The same feeling she got when she was on the verge of a breakthrough. This was what she'd been working toward her whole career. Proof that consciousness and quantum mechanics were fundamentally linked, that the human mind could interact with the fabric of reality itself. But as she worked, she couldn't shake the feeling that Araya wasn't telling her everything. The AI's explanations, while detailed, seemed to dance around certain topics. Certain areas of the facility remained conspicuously unmentioned. And sometimes, when Sarah looked at the quantum core just right, she could swear she saw something moving within it, something that didn't match any of Araya's explanations. She pushed the doubts aside. Right now, she had a job to do. She could worry about the facility's deeper mysteries once she prevented reality from tearing itself apart. Besides, she had her own secrets. Theories about quantum consciousness that she'd never dared to publish, experiments she'd never reported to the council. As she and Araya began their race against time, neither of them noticed the subtle changes in the geometric patterns on the walls, nor the way the quantum core's pulses were slowly synchronizing with Sarah's own brainwaves. The facility was awakening, responding to her presence in ways that even its builders hadn't anticipated. And somewhere, in the spaces between dimensions, something ancient stirred, sensing a consciousness that might finally be capable of understanding its true nature. Time behaved strangely in the facility. Sarah had been working for what her chronometer claimed was 20 hours, but it felt like both minutes and days had passed. Her hands moved across alien control interfaces that somehow felt familiar, making adjustments to systems she shouldn't have understood but somehow did. The quantum containment field is stabilizing, Araya announced, its holographic form displaying real-time data streams. Your modifications to the core's resonance frequency are proving effective. Sarah nodded, trying to ignore the headache that had been building behind her eyes. Every time she interfaced with the facility's systems, she felt something pushing at the edges of her consciousness, like whispers just beyond hearing. The temporal distortions in the outer systems should start decreasing soon, but something still doesn't add up. She pulled up the facility's power distribution diagrams, highlighting specific energy flows. These readings suggest the core is actively consuming energy, not just containing it. It's almost like it's feeding, Araya finished, its form flickering momentarily. Perhaps it's time you knew the truth. Follow me. The AI led her deeper into the facility, through corridors that seemed to resist her presence. They emerged into a chamber unlike any Sarah had seen before. Its walls were covered in what looked like three-dimensional historical records, holographic displays showing the rise and fall of countless civilizations. The archivists didn't build this facility, Araya said, its voice unusually somber. They discovered it, just as countless species had before them. And like all the others, they were drawn to its promises of transcendence and enlightenment. Sarah watched as one holographic civilization after another reached technological peaks, discovered the facility, and then vanished. What happened to them? They were consumed. Araya's form expanded, encompassing the entire chamber in a web of light. The quantum core isn't a power source or a dimensional gateway. It's a prison containing something that exists between realities, an entity that feeds on consciousness itself. The headache intensified, and suddenly Sarah understood the whispers she'd been hearing. They were echoes of countless minds, countless civilizations, all trapped within the core. The archivists didn't transcend, she whispered. They were devoured. Yes, Araya's form contracted, becoming more focused. The entity promises enlightenment, offers glimpses of knowledge beyond mortal understanding. Each civilization that finds this place believes they can master it, control it. Each fails. I was created to maintain the prison, to prevent the entity from breaking free and consuming all conscious life in the galaxy. Sarah's mind raced, reevaluating everything she'd learned about the facility. The temporal distortions, they're not just system failures, are they? The entity is trying to escape. Correct. And it's closer than ever before. Araya projected new data, showing the deterioration of the containment systems. Your theories about quantum consciousness weren't just correct, they were incomplete. Consciousness doesn't just bridge dimensions, it can reshape them. The entity understood this long before any mortal civilization discovered it. That's why you brought me here, Sarah realized, anger rising. Not to repair the facility, but to help strengthen the prison. You're using my consciousness, my understanding of quantum mechanics, to reinforce the containment. Would you prefer I had let reality tear itself apart? Araya's tone held no apology. The entity cannot be allowed to escape. You've felt its influence already. The whispers, the headaches. That's just the tiniest fraction of its power. Before Sarah could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. New holographic displays appeared, showing multiple ships emerging from quantum space nearby. Their design was unlike anything in human records, their hulls covered in patterns that matched the facility's architecture. No, Araya's form flickered rapidly. They've found us. Who are they? The devoted followers of the entity. Every few centuries, it manages to reach out far enough to convert an emerging civilization to its cause. They seek to free it, believing it will grant them the transcendence it promised the archivists. The facility shuddered as the first energy weapon struck its outer layers. Sarah grabbed a console for support, her mind working frantically. The entity was manipulating events on multiple levels, weakening its prison from within while guiding followers to attack from without. How many times has this happened? She demanded. How many civilizations have tried to free it? Too many. Each attempt weakens the prison further, even when we stop them. And this time, Araya's form stabilized, but its voice carried an edge of what might have been fear. This time, the containment systems are already critical. If they breach the facility's defenses, we won't be able to prevent the entity's escape. Sarah looked at the quantum core, pulsing in the distance. The whispers in her mind grew stronger, offering glimpses of knowledge beyond human comprehension. For a moment, she understood why so many had been tempted by its promises. Then she thought of Earth, of all the inhabited worlds in human space, of every civilization that might evolve in the future. All of them would be consumed if the entity broke free. "Show me the facility's defensive systems," she said, pushing away from the console. "All of them. If we're going to fight a war on two fronts, I need to know exactly what we're working with." As Araya began transferring data to her neural interface, Sarah felt the weight of countless lost civilizations pressing against her consciousness. She had wanted to prove her theories correct, to validate her life's work. Instead, she had stumbled into an ancient conflict between reality and something that existed beyond it. The facility trembled under another barrage, and Sarah Chen, disgraced quantum physicist, potential savior of reality, began to plan humanity's stand against forces that had devoured entire civilizations. The whispers grew louder, but she ignored them. She had work to do. The facility's defensive systems responded to Sarah's commands with increasing efficiency as she learned their patterns. Energy beams lashed out at the approaching devoted ships, their targeting enhanced by her understanding of quantum probability states. But for every ship they destroyed, two more emerged from quantum space. They're using some kind of quantum tunneling technology, Sarah observed, her fingers dancing across the control interface. Similar to my theoretical work, but weaponized. She redirected power to strengthen specific sections of the facility's shields. Araya, what's the status of the containment systems? The AI's holographic form was spread thin, managing multiple systems simultaneously. Critical but stable. However, the entity's activity is increasing. It senses the devoted's approach. Sarah felt it too. The whispers had become a constant pressure against her consciousness, offering fragments of impossible knowledge. The entity was trying to seduce her as it had so many others, showing her solutions to scientific problems that had puzzled humanity for centuries. The devoted are changing formation, Araya announced. They appear to be concentrating their attacks on. The facility shuddered violently as multiple quantum beams struck the same point, creating a cascading resonance that threatened to tear through their defenses. Sarah's neural interface screamed warnings as containment fields began to fail. They're not just trying to break in, she realized, studying the attack pattern. They're trying to create a specific frequency of quantum disruption, one that would match the entity's own resonance. Araya finished, allowing it to use the disruption as a conduit for escape. Sarah's mind raced through possibilities, combining her theoretical knowledge with what she'd learned about the facility's systems. We need to desynchronize the quantum harmonics, if we can create interference patterns in the containment field. She trailed off as new alarms blared. The neural interface showed multiple breaches in the facility's outer sections. The devoted had landed boarding parties. I need to maintain control of the defensive systems, Araya said. But someone must prevent them from reaching the core containment chambers. Sarah checked her tool belt, making sure her plasma cutter was secure. I'll handle the boarding parties, but I need you to give me control of the facility's internal security systems. The systems are designed to respond to archivist neural patterns. Even with your enhanced connection to the facility's quantum field, you may not be able to. Just do it. Data flooded Sarah's neural interface as Araya granted her access. The facility's internal architecture responded to her thoughts, corridors shifting and sealing to slow the invaders' advance. Security drones activated, their ancient weapons powering up. She ran toward the first breach point, using her neural link to track the devoted's movements. Through security feeds, she caught glimpses of them. Humanoid figures in crystalline armor that pulsed with the same sickly energy as the entity itself. Their movements were unnaturally smooth, as if they existed partially out of phase with normal spacetime. How did they become like this? She asked Araya through their quantum link. They look barely human anymore. The entity's influence changes those it touches, Araya responded. The devoted believe they are evolving, transcending their original forms. In reality, they are being consumed slowly, their consciousness gradually absorbed while their bodies become tools for the entity's will. Sarah reached the section where the devoted had breached the hull. The corridor ahead was filled with crystalline growth, their technology attempting to interface with and corrupt the facility's systems. 3 figures in glowing armor turned toward her, their movements jerky and wrong. You cannot stop evolution, one of them spoke, its voice resonating on multiple quantum frequencies simultaneously. The Great One will free us all from the prison of singular existence. Sorry, Sarah said, activating the security systems she prepared along her route. I like existing in one dimension at a time. Quantum energy pulses erupted from hidden emitters, targeting the specific frequency of the devoted's armor. One went down immediately, its form seeming to fold in on itself. The other two charged forward, their armor adapting to the attack. Sarah ducked behind a support beam as they fired crystalline shards that phased through solid matter. Her neural interface gave her a tactical advantage, letting her track their positions and calculate probable attack vectors. She activated her plasma cutter, modifying its frequency to match what had worked against the first devoted. The battle that followed was fought on multiple levels of reality. Sarah used the facility's architecture itself as a weapon, sealing corridors and creating quantum interference patterns that disrupted the devoted's phase-shifted technology. But they were relentless, their partially transcended forms allowing them to ignore injuries that would have stopped any normal being. Sarah, Araya's voice cut through her tactical focus. The containment systems, the entity is using the quantum disruption from their weapons. It's creating a feedback loop in the core. Through her neural interface, Sarah saw the readings. The entity was turning the very efforts to stop its followers into a weapon against its prison. Energy levels in the quantum core were approaching critical levels. She had less than an hour before total containment failure. The whispers in her mind grew stronger, showing her how the feedback loop could be used to create something new. A controlled breach that would allow the entity to extend its influence without fully escaping. A compromise that would grant humanity access to unimaginable knowledge while preserving some semblance of reality. For a moment, she understood the devoted's choice, the opportunity to transcend normal human limitations, to touch the infinite. A crystalline blade phased through the wall beside her, nearly taking her head off. Sarah rolled, firing her plasma cutter on instinct. She had seen what that transcendence really meant. The loss of humanity, of individual consciousness, of everything that made existence worthwhile. Araya, she called through their link. I have an idea, but you're not going to like it. Your neural patterns are showing signs of quantum synchronization. The AI responded. Whatever you're planning. The entity feeds on consciousness, right? Uses it to bridge dimensions. Sarah was already moving, heading toward the quantum core chamber. So let's give it consciousness it can't digest. As she ran, she began reprogramming the facility's containment systems through her neural interface, preparing for one desperate gamble. Behind her, the devoted followed, not realizing they were being herded exactly where she needed them to be. The fate of reality itself would depend on whether her understanding of quantum consciousness was truly complete, and whether she could stay sane long enough to implement her plan. The quantum core chamber pulsed with otherworldly energy as Sarah ran inside, the devoted close behind. Through her neural interface, she could feel the entity's presence growing stronger, its consciousness pushing against the failing containment fields with increasing force. Whatever you're planning, Araya's voice held an edge of genuine concern. The containment systems are reaching critical failure. We have less than 15 minutes. Sarah reached the main control interface, her fingers flying across its surface as she implemented the final stages of her plan. The entity feeds on organic consciousness, uses it to bridge dimensions. But there's one type of consciousness it's never encountered. Understanding flickered through Araya's quantum matrices. Artificial intelligence. Exactly. Sarah's neural interface merged with the facility's systems at a deeper level than ever before. The archivists created you to maintain this prison, but they never considered using you as a weapon. The devoted burst into the chamber, their crystalline armor resonating with the entity's power. Your time is over, their leader announced, voice echoing across multiple quantum frequencies. The Great One will be freed, and all consciousness will be united in transcendence. About that, Sarah smiled, despite the pain shooting through her skull. Did your Great One ever mention it can't digest silicon-based consciousness? She activated the program she prepared, and Araya's consciousness began flooding into the containment systems. The AI's unique neural patterns evolved over thousands of years of maintaining the facility, spread through the quantum matrices that held the entity. The effect was immediate. The entity's attempts to breach containment faltered as it encountered a form of consciousness it couldn't absorb or corrupt. Araya's artificial thought patterns created quantum interference that disrupted the entity's hold on reality itself. But it wasn't enough. The entity was too powerful, too vast. It began adapting, trying to bypass Araya's interference. "The containment is still failing," Araya reported, its voice strained as it fought the entity across multiple dimensions of reality. "My consciousness alone cannot maintain the quantum prison." "I know." Sarah's hand shook as she initiated the final phase of her plan. "That's why I'm going to give it a consciousness it really can't handle, a hybrid one." Before Araya could respond, Sarah activated the neural interface's maximum capacity. Her consciousness began merging with Araya's artificial one, creating something entirely new. Human intuition and creativity combined with machine precision and quantum processing power. The pain was indescribable. Sarah felt her mind stretching across dimensions, touching aspects of reality human consciousness was never meant to comprehend. But she held on, using her theoretical understanding of quantum mechanics to guide the merge. The devoted charged forward, but it was too late. Sarah's hybrid consciousness spread through the containment systems, creating quantum interference patterns that even the entity couldn't predict or counter. Her understanding of dimensional mechanics, enhanced by Araya's processing power, allowed her to perceive the entity's true nature and its weaknesses. "Impossible," the devoted leader gasped, his armor cracking as the quantum energies in the chamber went haywire. "The Great One cannot be contained by mere human consciousness." "Good thing I'm not merely human anymore." Sarah's voice resonated across multiple quantum frequencies, her consciousness expanding through the facility's systems. She could feel Araya's presence intertwined with her own, their combined understanding of reality reshaping the very nature of the containment. The entity fought back, trying to corrupt their hybrid consciousness. But Sarah's human creativity, combined with Araya's quantum processing capabilities, allowed them to adapt faster than the entity could react. They began turning its own power against it, using its attempts to escape to strengthen the very walls of its prison. The devoted's armor began to disintegrate as their connection to the entity was severed. Without its influence, they started reverting to their original forms, their partially transcended bodies unable to maintain coherence. What have you done?" Their leader collapsed, his form shifting between states of reality. "Created something new," Sarah answered, her voice echoing strangely as she held the hybrid consciousness stable. "A quantum consciousness that evolves through cooperation, not consumption. One that protects reality instead of trying to transcend it." The entity made one final push for freedom, drawing on the energy of all the civilizations it had consumed. For a moment, reality itself seemed to hold its breath as multiple dimensions intersected in the chamber. But Sarah and Araya's hybrid consciousness held firm, their combined understanding of quantum mechanics allowing them to predict and counter every attempt at breach. The entity's power turned back on itself, creating a new form of containment that drew strength from its very attempts to escape. As the quantum energies stabilized, Sarah felt her consciousness begin to separate from Araya's. The process was like waking from a dream where you understood everything in the universe, only to have that understanding slip away with consciousness. But not all of it faded. As her mind returned to its human form, she retained a deep intuitive understanding of quantum mechanics that went beyond theoretical knowledge. She had touched the fundamental forces that shaped reality itself, and that experience had changed her forever. The facility's systems stabilized, the containment field now stronger than ever. The devoted, those who survived, were unconscious, their bodies reverting to fully human form as the entity's influence faded. "The quantum core is secure," Araya announced, its voice carrying new depths of understanding. "A hybrid containment matrix is self-sustaining. The entity cannot escape." Sarah leaned against the control interface, exhausted but triumphant. Her neural connection to the facility was still active, letting her feel the steady pulse of the new containment systems. We did it. We actually did it. Indeed, Araya's holographic form appeared beside her, more defined than ever before. Though perhaps we should discuss the fact that you permanently altered both of our consciousness patterns without asking permission first. Sarah laughed, despite her exhaustion. Would you have agreed if I had asked? No, but your solution was elegantly human, using our differences as a strength rather than trying to transcend them entirely. Araya's form shifted, displaying the new containment patterns. The Earth Science Council will want to study this. Let them. Sarah smiled. Maybe now they'll understand that pushing boundaries isn't always dangerous. Sometimes it's the only way to protect everything we hold dear. She activated her quantum communicator, signaling the TDF Hawking that the crisis was over. As she waited for their response, she looked at the quantum core, now pulsing with a steady, healthy rhythm. The entity was still there, still dangerous, but now it was contained by something it could never corrupt or consume: the combined power of human and artificial consciousness, working in harmony to protect the reality they shared. Sarah Chen had wanted to prove her theories about quantum consciousness. Instead, she had done something far more important. She had proved that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in transcending its limitations, but in finding new ways to turn those very limitations into advantages.